Yeah, hello, I'm Katharine from the Imperial War Museums. I work in digital learning. Just in case you don't know, what we do is we look at the causes, course and consequences of war. So I'm in digital learning. We've also got other digital groups in the museum, like digital engagement, got my colleagues here. I work part-time. I've got a digital learning manager. And the museum is 5 sites. So in our digital learning group, which we call the DLG, we've got representatives from the learning teams in London, North and Duxford. And we meet up every 2 weeks via Skype and in person when possible. What I'm really here to talk to you about is I come from learning and we do digital learning, but what we're talking to you about is Google Analytics and user testing and what it's like to train somebody like me and my team and what it's like to put that into practice and to implement it. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about. So we just look after 2 hubs on the website. This is the digital learning offer. We have pages where you can book. We call them learning sessions, and that's where teachers will book to come on a school trip. And we offer learning resources that are downloadable for teachers to use, and we put them up via Drupal. And that is my role. I'm a content developer for digital learning resources. The challenges in developing these DLRs, the digital learning resources, when we asked teachers what they wanted, we did some research, they want everything. When we ask them what they need, it's different. The difference between what they want and what they need, we really needed to establish. Because we had developed resources, quite often they were developed around sort of iconic historical events like D-Day, or maybe because somebody wanted to do something and they're interested in it, like War in the Air. And then we'd take them to teachers and they'd love them, but they didn't necessarily need them and use them. So our evaluation used to be quite summative, and we hadn't tested the presentation style particularly, and we needed to do a lot more development research, and we needed to become agile. So what we knew about teachers is that they wanted inquiry-based resources. They wanted everything to be framed in questions. They wanted things to be downloadable. Some wanted things to be editable, and others, most of them, wanted pick-up-and-go activities for the classroom. So we, as a team from learning, our manager isn't, she's very digital, but the rest of us from learning, we took training in Google Analytics, user testing, and research and evaluation. We were trained by external companies, Periscopics, User Vision, and Market Insights, with the aim of becoming agile. So Google Analytics training, I quite like data. So I was quite keen to do this. So we started on the premise of what we wanted to know about our learning resources. So we wanted to know our number of users. We wanted to know where people were coming from, how they were finding us. And we wanted to know which resources were most popular and why. And why we wanted to know these things is to do some benchmarking, but primarily to inform change and development, and then to track that change. User testing was an external agency, User Vision. We had 2 levels of training. They came to the museum and trained, and then we also had a very fun time at a specialist lab with a one-way mirror, or 2, I can't remember, the mirrory things where they organised for teachers to come in and use our website. This is just the learning pages, those 2 hubs, and to see how people got on with our learning pages. So the benefit of this is we got to see what worked and what didn't firsthand. And the added benefit, which we didn't realise at the time, is that it complemented external research and evaluation that was done for us. So things that you would read in papers that were written, they made more sense when we'd seen it for ourselves. So it really helped to unpack external reports. And it provided evidence for impetus and change and for our development. So from that training, what we're finding out. In May this year, I started tweeting the digital learning resources. IWM has got a huge Twitter account, but particularly at weekends, we decided to tweet resources for teachers. So what I do is I collect data weekly, looking at the sessions and the number of new sessions, and look at where Twitter fits in the whole remit of referred traffic. It's currently third at weekends, so Google's first, then direct organic reach, and then Twitter. So the long-term aim of this is to establish the kind of language we're using, the text we're using. Is that important? Also the image, what kind of images work, and we've introduced just recently an IWM Schools hashtag that we're going to be able to track. So we're building that into the Google Analytics. Particularly the language, that tweet starts with free classroom resource. So somewhere in the text we try and say free classroom resource. And we're trying to work out if that's what teachers spot at the beginning or in the middle or at the end, and to see what's most popular. To be honest, from my findings, most popular seem to be First World War, but also very iconic things like pictures from D-Day and pictures that people recognise and probably got connections with. But since we started tweeting, we've generated 6% more users to the learning resources part of the website, and 52% of those people are new users to the IWM website. What we're also finding out is this is the hub page where you can click on each link to a resource. So we're looking at the position on the page. Do people scroll right down to the bottom or just go to the top? What are popular topics? What content do they want? And we're also testing titles. When we did evaluation with teachers, they want everything to be inquiry-based. So we put that into our titles as well as threaded through the resource. And the resource on the right there is about Second World War posters. So in updating it, we changed that resource to, very catchy, how did the British government encourage people to help with the war effort? Much longer, especially on a page like that. The users dropped dramatically. So a month ago, we put it back to Second World War posters. And in that month, the number of sessions has gone up by 60%. So we realised that titles are key, and short, snappy ones at that. What we didn't expect to learn is we've found quite a lot of out-of-date links. Particularly, we had an old microsite called TPYF, which is There Past Your Future. There were lots of links to that, so we've been able to take it down and redirect those links to our learning resources. We also found things like Culture 24. We had links on there that were out of date. But another bonus of that is we found out that actually the text was out of date on that page. So we've managed to update that too. The other thing we found out is there's quite a lot of unexpected traffic to our learning resources. So organisations like Western Front Association were linking through their learning pages back to us. So my experience coming from learning into digital, being able to track data and know what's going on has helped establish the value of my role, because I'm the person who tweets and introduced it, so I know that that's generated that many users to the website, and all of that can be monetised. The challenges to my role is that I find it extraordinarily interesting going into Google Analytics and just looking at things, some of which is not helpful. Like, we don't need to know where people are geographically in Britain with producing digital learning resources, but it is fascinating. So it can be very time-consuming, but it is time-consuming even if you're not distracted. A challenge for me was I was okay using dashboards and building them, but if those of you that work with dashboards, the thing that flummoxed me was filters. The technical aspect of that, those are actually built externally, so we can just use them because we don't want to look at the whole website, we're just looking at our learning pages. The lessons learnt in the digital learning group, we are really aiming to become agile. We realise it's a very slow process. Nothing can beat seeing your users on your website when you do user testing. The rate of take-up with staff was different depending on what they did and how often they used it. User testing is more popular than Google Analytics for our staff. The value to the IWM is we've grown our audience, we've established new ways of working, we've become a lot more user-focused. And the bottom one is key, I think, for me, enthusiasm for digital. I think we were working with people in learning, and they were working for the website content. It's very dry. If you're used to working with school groups, visitors, face-to-face with people, this kind of brings a bit of face-to-face to see what's happening. Recommendations, these are my personal ones, not IWM approved. But if you are looking to train people who on your, in your institution, I personally would recommend user testing for all content developers to see how people are responding to what you've made. And then I would say that Google Analytics is essential for anyone who edits and publishes, such as myself, and for those that use social media. But the other thing is, I would say, identify staff who are motivated by and understand data. Thank you. That was a quick 10 minutes.